Good morning. Today is Sunday, December 14th, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So this is the monthly chart. We see that Bitcoin is just thoroughly resting on this 21-month moving average, so about half a year. This is your 50-month moving average, so basically, this is about 21-month. That would be about 2 years almost. 50-month would be almost 4 years of price action at this point. So we see that's kind of resting at the all-time high. That was the average price, the previous all-time high. And then now this is currently sitting at 86. So I talked about 86 being a very key level for several weeks. Even when we were up here, I said if this does fall, it's probably going to go down to about 86. And we see that we've stayed somewhere in the range of about 80 to 90. It went down to 80, and we see it's just resting here at about 89. So my thought is that maybe we go a little bit lower, maybe even into the 70s. And I've drawn some key levels on the next chart. We'll look at that. But I see maybe a little bit more drop before any type of turnaround. I do not think that this is over, and I absolutely believe that. I don't think that we're going to have one of these. I don't think that we're going to have 2021 where we just went down for months and months and months, and then it took us really from, I would call all of this downward until almost October of 2023. That's when we actually started moving. But all of this was an extended bear market, and this was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. For anyone who was still in crypto, it shook a lot of people out. But if you stuck around, you got paid for sure. Like you caught this wave up from top to bottom, and it was just a good time. So, even these bear markets here, to where you just saw all this downward motion. It's just that there's so many big parties in this at this point that they, I don't think they can let this fail as easily. So again, we'll look at it on some of the lower time frames, but I do think that most of the major pain is over. Maybe we go back down to about 75 or something just to shake every last bit out. But seeing it violate the 50-month moving average, I just find that to be unlikely. Okay. So this is the weekly chart. So at this point, we are below the 21 and 50 week moving averages. So this is about half a year, and this is a year. That's kind of what I was trying to say on the monthly chart. But I could see us potentially, maybe a pullback up to almost 100, or retest almost. But the thing is, we've already had this downward momentum candle, and that started in, about a month ago. At this point. So best case you get a pullback up to here, and then worst case maybe a pull down to around this area. In here you're looking at a lot of different kind of metrics, and let's look at the monthly one more time. We do see this downward momentum arrow. This is your upward momentum, downward, so on and so forth. So generally, when you have this, there is more downside than there is upside, and the opposite here. There's more upside than there is downside in those cases. So you got your 200-week moving average, which would catch it. And this is a Bitcoin fact. There has never been a time where the 200-week moving average has decreased. It's always been either pretty much flat or increasing over time. And we can even go back. Technically it was decreasing here, but realistically, you could call this flat for all intents and purposes, but we're not seeing any major downward spikes. So yeah, this red area, it technically was below the 200-week moving average. I don't see that being as likely at this point because, again, there is so much more structure holding it up. Okay, I threw a lot of drawings on here, so let's look at what each of these means. So long-term holder realized price. So any Bitcoin that has not moved in more than 155 days, I believe it is stuck into this bin. So that is way down at 37,000. I don't see that being realistic for us to get all the way down here. I drew kind of a long-term support. This was getting above that $30,000 level. Really that 45 actually. Let's take a look here. So we saw bounces here, a rejection to the downside here, and then this pausing before we finally got above it. Then it came back down again to test it one more time, and then it was just opposite races. So that is a level. Your long-term support down at 48. I still don't see that as being likely. Your realized price, and I've updated all these numbers, so these are the actual numbers. 56,000 378. That is at the bottom of this range here. Again, I don't see us getting back down to the realized price because, again, you would have to go through the 200-week moving average as well. This would be fine. Okay, I would say this is I don't consider either of these likely at all. This has a small chance, maybe get down to the realized price, but I do mean a small chance. 200-week moving average. This is it's maybe reasonable that we could get down to there, 66. 2021 all-time high. Generally, what happens is you don't go below your all-time high. We can even see that here from 2017 to the lows in 2022. This is the all-time high. It came over here. It didn't really go below it. So this is a solid line in the sand at about 70,000, 69,000. Let's see. There's another level. There's another intermediate level between here. Your March of 2024 all-time high. So this is the big run-up after the ETFs were announced. You end up seeing this period, this kind of range here to where it's like, hey, this didn't violate it. So it tried to break above it, couldn't do it, came down. Absolutely destroyed this one. This is after the election. Came back down again to knock on the door right around tariff time, and then it went back up. So this is a solid level for sure. And another one I want to talk about is MicroStrategy. They have been a big name in Bitcoin. If we talk about individual holders of Bitcoin or individual corporate holders of Bitcoin, MicroStrategy is leading the charge. They have like 660,000 Bitcoin. Their average price at this point is roughly 75,000, 74,969. So that is a big line in the sand because there's a lot of Bitcoin held at that level for sure. Now, that's not saying that we couldn't go below it, but I am saying, hey, this is a good line in the sand because there's 600,000 Bitcoin tied up at an average price at this level. They bought above here, they bought below here, but on average, they bought somewhere in here. So they're still profitable at this point until they start getting below here and whatnot. So again, a lot of support below that. And then above it, you have the short-term holder realized price, so less than 155 days before, between Bitcoin movements, and then your 100,000. So really what I'm saying is we're kind of stuck between here and here for a while. This is somewhat of a range that we're in. Let's take a look here. You got your downward momentum candle until you get another upward one where we're really not confident. It's got to break back into this channel. It has to break back into the channel before we're really bullish at this point. You want to see some sort of like rounded bottom at this point. This to me is still saying that we're bearish. So I'm not seeing any type of bullish levity just yet. But we will continue to look. This is the daily chart. We see that this has just been an absolute onslaught ever since October, really. You had a downward trend, and then now you have your kind of upward. This is kind of what I would call a bearish flag. All your moving averages are pointing in the downward direction. So 21, 50, 200, all of them are down. They're all outside the channel at this point. So for price to be bullish, it would have to break above this moving average, break above 50, break above short-term holder realized price and 100, break into the channel, and eventually break above this kind of escape velocity line here at 111,000 in order to get to, at this point, what would be about 140, 148. That's less realistic. That's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic right there. It's less realistic than me saying that, hey, it's probably just going to go down here. Probably just going to go down to 75 before trying to form some type of base around here, because now you're running into more traffic as well. You run into a lot of traffic in this level, and it is a nice round number of being 75. So I'm saying we're probably gonna come down here before moving back up to the upside. But you got to play it day by day, week by week, and see where that ends up. So what do we have? Is there anything left to look at? Really, not really. This has been a range of a week. If we look at Monday up, we ran up, and then Tuesday through the weekend, even on Sunday, we're running down, even over the weekend. So to me, this is absolutely a bearish flag. It's like you have this upward movement in the midst of a downtrend. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, some type of recovery. That is fake. Then you just see this absolute drop down to 75K, and it's just it's a new move. It's a new move at that point. So that's pretty much it in terms of the charts. I just see this being bearish overall. And we'll take a look to see what that means for the rest of everything else. So. Let me do this. I don't know why. I don't know what happened to my computer to where it's just bugging out on me. But anyway, put the filters back on. December. What do we have coming up? The big thing this week, and we'll get to it in a second, is ADP weekly unemployment. Non-farm employment change on Tuesday the 16th. So they're releasing, I want to say these are October numbers. They are not expecting that to be good. So they are forecasting 50 with a previous of 119. These are going to be some interesting numbers for real. So flash PMI is supposed to increase a little bit. This is supposed to be decreasing just a little bit. CPI comes out on Thursday. So yeah, this will be a very news heavy week. Just to see what's ahead. And then on top of it, on Thursday, you have the Bank of Japan policy rate. So really, I expect quite a bit of volatility by the end of the week, just because, again, you do have the Bank of Japan. That's huge. Even they're expecting a rate hike. So they're expecting a rate hike at this point, 0.75 from 50% or 0.5%. At this point, Japan is thoroughly in a rate hiking cycle. So for the first time since March 2024 is when they made that first hike, and that initial one. Can we go back even further? Yeah, Japan has been negative interest rates for almost a decade at this point, if not longer. I'd have to go back farther to see what's what. Can I go back any farther than that? I don't know. Maybe not on this chart, but Japan is critical, and people need to kind of understand that, because this yen carry trade is huge. A lot of the liquidity around the world has been based off the Japanese currency at this point, and we'll look at some of the other markets to see as well. But CPI numbers again. So you have inflation numbers. You have Bank of Japan policy rate, which it looks like they're going to hike, which has a tendency to put a drag on stocks, because now the yen is getting stronger. U.S. dollar just cut. It's getting a little bit weaker. So we'll see. Non-farm employment change too. So we'll actually get to see a lot of labor numbers this week. So it will be, this is going to be the kickstart to a little bit more volatility, because we had not seen it in weeks previous. Coming off of Thanksgiving, and then just kind of a slow start to December. But overall, I think we'll start to see much more movement, and my bet is to the downside. So. Bank of Japan. What will the Bank of Japan do in the December BOJ meeting? We're at 94% hike of 21 to 40 basis points. Another 25. So that was Kalshi. Kalshi, the betting platform, and then you have Polymarket, which is saying, all right, well, yeah, we're 98% certain that we're going to have a 25% basis points, which aligns very much so with Forex Factory and what those predictions are. We'll probably have a hike. It looks like a 97% chance. The last thing I want to talk about is the Federal Reserve ending quantitative tightening. The key market liquidity insights is from Silicon Valley Bank of all ones, which they were kind of the ones that started this for me, because they crashed back in 2023, and that was around the time that I started talking about Bitcoin consistently. So basically with this, we have been in a period of quantitative tightening, which, tighter monetary conditions, less credit, less cheap money in the system for years at this point. They're going to end that. So they're likely is clearly approaching the most recent QT ending cautiously, and we don't anticipate a retreat of turmoil in the short term funding markets. The Fed has learned a valuable lesson. The Fed will likely use reserve management purchases in the coming months to help maintain liquidity without affecting longer term borrowing costs, which is a goal reserved for quantitative easing. So let's see if they have a. Yeah, the Fed has been in quantitative tightening since mid-2022. So it has been almost 6 years. It has been almost 4 years that we have been in tight monetary conditions. So we have not seen a period. It makes trading harder at that point. When you're in quantitative tightening, it's either bearish or it's ranging. Now, when you get to quantitative easing, that's when stuff picks up. It gets a lot easier because you have now these you just easier conditions, as the name implies. The money has eased, so these are good. It's good times ahead. I'm actually, it's going to be one of the last weekly episodes I do, but I will still keep talking monthly. It's we're gonna have a good period, but over the next 2 years for stocks and bond. Well, not stocks and bond, but equities, definitely Bitcoin, silver and gold, precious metals. But I'm really putting my focus in on silver, gold, Bitcoin, just this real hard money, because at this point, if they do a wave of quantitative easing, it is going to push the value of the U.S. dollar down. It's going to lift things that are scarce. Again, things like gold and Bitcoin and silver and other rare commodities like platinum, palladium, and then a few other key markets. So we'll take a look at that as it comes. We're here to talk about Bitcoin, of course. So this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out your crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.